Welcome to the Love You Deserve podcast. This podcast is for professional women who are ready to attract healthy love without shrinking, without settling, and without second guessing themselves. I'm your host, Coach Yolanda Bethay, and I am your Christian relationship coach. And I'm here to guide you to the love that you deserve. So, let's dive into today's episode. Today, we are going to talk about dating from a place of fear. Don't date from fear. That's the title of today's episode. Don't date from fear. Have you ever dated someone because you thought that nobody else would ask you? You ever dated somebody and you thought, well, mm, okay, I'll go out with you. It wasn't something you really wanted to do, but you was like, what else am I doing? Yeah, I did that. But I did worse than that. I actually married a man out of fear. For those of you who have heard this story, I apologize. But I'm going to say it again. I want to tell this story again because somebody hadn't heard it and it's going to help them. So, for those of you who don't know, I've been married before. This is my second marriage. In my first marriage, I married my first husband out of fear. At the time, I was 28 years old. I had received a diagnosis that I had MS, and the doctor told me that in 2 years I would be wheelchair bound. And if I wanted to have children or get married or go back to school and get a degree, now would be the time because I only have about 2 years before my body completely shuts down from MS. Fun fact, she was wrong. I didn't have MS then and I don't now, but at the time, I believed what she said. I didn't go get a second opinion. I just trusted my doctor like most people do. And I panicked. I made a vow to myself, and the devil heard it. I made a vow to myself that the next man who asked me to marry him, I was going to say yes. And that's exactly what I did. Oh, honey, it was a mess. I ignored all the red flags. I ignored my parents telling me no. I didn't even let my parents meet him until after we were married because I knew they were going to say, you don't need to marry him. He ain't right for you. I knew it going into marriage he wasn't right for me. I ignored the pastor's warning. We went to one premarital counseling session. He tried to fight the pastor in the session because the pastor asked us, why were we wanting to get married? We weren't ready. Was I pregnant? He tried to fight the pastor in the session. I'm not joking. I am seriously. He seriously tried to fight the pastor in the premarital session. That was our one and only premarital session. And you know what? I married him anyway. I ignored my intuition. When he was first trying to date me, he had another woman. And I told him that he would have to break up with her. And I assumed that he did. I never checked up to see if he had broken up with her. And later I found out he didn't. Later I found out that there were multiple women during our marriage. My intuition was telling me something was off, but did I listen to it? Nope, because the doctor said I had 2 years to get married and have a baby. My focus was to have a baby in marriage. So I was going to marry the next one that asked me, and then I was going to get pregnant. I was going to have my baby and divorce him and live happily ever after with my baby that I got in marriage. See, God don't like ugly. So no, I didn't get pregnant by him. And yes, we did get divorced. And it was the most tumultuous, heartbreaking, miserable, painful, drama filled 2 years of my life. And I walked into it with my eyes wide open because I was afraid. Because I was afraid that in 2 years I would be wheelchair bound. And God forbid if I had been, this man would not have taken care of me. So I thank God that we didn't have any children together. When we divorced, when we divorced, he had gotten his side piece pregnant with twins. And for me, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And so when that news surfaced, I filed for divorce. I paid for the divorce and we ended it. But I went through all of that to say, when you are motivated by fear, when you're moving in fear, not in faith, things don't end well. Had I been moving in faith, that maybe she's wrong and I got plenty of time, I would not have paid him any attention. But on the flip side, had I not gone through all that, I wouldn't have all these incredible stories to now tell you. And I wouldn't have all these lessons that I learned the hard way that you now can learn from my mistakes. So all things work together for our good. And I think even though that was a hard situation, it worked out for my good in the end because now I'm here 23 years later being a blessing to you. Go God. So, what is fear based dating? Fear based dating sounds like I better not be too picky. It sounds like this is as good as I'm going to get. Fear based dating sounds like, well, at least he's not cheating on me. What? At least he's not cheating? You're miserable, but you're staying in this because he's not cheating? Because of fear. Here's one I heard all my life. I know what I got, but I don't know what I'm getting. So I better keep what I got. What? Foolishness? Having a piece of man is better than having no man at all. How many of you heard that? I know I have, but it's not true. Your standards and your boundaries reflect your self worth. Fear lowers the bar and causes you to settle for less than you deserve. Fear causes you to settle for less than God's best for your life. Fear based dating is settling, and we don't settle. We don't settle. We date from a place of self love, not from fear of missing out. We don't have FOMO. We don't have fear of missing out. So if this relationship doesn't work out, cool, bye. I value my peace of mind and my self worth more than I value saying I got a man. Because teaching purposes only. Let's say I had a man and I was single and I had a man who had multiple side pieces, but I kept the relationship going just to say I had a man. But do I really? If I'm dating a man who's dating other women, do I really have a man? Or do we have a man? I don't have a man anymore. We have a man. And I'm not a sister wife, so I'm not sharing a man with anybody, especially not knowingly. So, honey, bye. Baby, bye. Listen, Choose based on compatibility, not anxiety. Do you hear what I just said? I said choose based on compatibility, not anxiety, not fear, not fear of missing out. Not that, well, I'm an old maid, so I'm gonna marry the next man that come along. No, marry the right man for you, no matter how old you are. Don't jump into something out of fear. Don't do it. Take it from me. Don't do it. Life too short for you to jump into a relationship out of fear, and then you find yourself miserable. Don't do it. Here is your journal prompt for the week. Ask yourself this question: are my current dating patterns based on fear or faith? Do I date based on fear that nobody else is going to ask me, so I might as well go with this one? Or am I basing my dating on faith that, hey, this didn't work out? It's not working. I can let it go. It's okay. Because I believe by faith that something better is coming my way. If you're not currently in a dating relationship, look at your past relationships and ask yourself, were your past relationships based on fear or faith? Why did you choose them? Did you choose them out of fear or did you choose them out of faith? Good question. Here's our affirmation for the week. I like this one too. You notice I like all of them? I do. This one says, I date with discernment, not desperation. Oh, did you hear what I just said? Somebody should have told this to me 23 years ago. I date with discernment, not desperation. You may be asking, what's discernment? You may not be a church person, a God person. You're like, oh, what is discernment? Discernment is the female intuition, that feeling that tells you something ain't right about him, that feeling, that knowing that we have as women, that's discernment. It tells you when something is off. When you sometimes you can want something so bad that you ignore that feeling and go for it anyway. But our affirmation is that we date with discernment. We listen to our female intuition and we don't choose a man out of desperation. That's really good. Okay, here's your exercise. Your exercise for this week. I want you to write down 3 non-negotiable standards for your date or your exclusive partner. See, when we get down to non-negotiables, these are boundaries. And these are things that you will not move on. These are my standards. This is I'm not moving off this. And if you can't come to these 3 things, then we can't be together. These standards come into play when you're moving to exclusivity, when you're moving to the point where you're trying to decide, okay, are we going to just be friends? Or are we going to be boyfriend and girlfriend? How you determine that is your non-negotiables. How does he feel about them? Is he already breaking them? Then he's not boyfriend material. If he doesn't respect your boundaries when you're dating, he won't respect them if you ever get married. So that's a red flag. So list at least 3 non-negotiables that you have. And you may say, well, what's a non-negotiable? I'm not familiar with that term. Okay. A non-negotiable is your deal breakers. It says, if you do this, I'm out. We ain't talking about it. We ain't praying about it. We ain't going to counseling about it. This is my deal breaker, and I'm out. My deal breaker when I was dating my husband was I wanted a man who loved God. I wanted a man who wanted children, and I wanted a man who was monogamous. Those were my three deal breakers. Not budging off of them, not at all. And if you didn't want kids, or if you didn't want to be faithful to one lady, which was me, or if you didn't want to go to church and serve God, then you weren't the guy for me. Those were my three non negotiables. Your three may be different because you may not be a believer, and that's fine. But whatever your three are, write them down and memorize them. Because as you date and you get to know these guys and you start going out and feeling comfortable and getting closer, you're going to start mentioning, well, how do you feel about children? Well, how do you feel about God? How do you feel about going to church? How do you feel about giving to charity? Whatever your non negotiable is, you need to know how he feels about them. And that will determine, do we move over to being a couple? Do we move over to being exclusive? Or do we just remain friends? But what we don't date out of fear. We make the choice to date out of faith, believing that if this work relationship doesn't work out, that God has better for us in our future. Hey, that's my best shot. I hope it helps someone. Thank you for joining me on the Love You Deserve podcast. If this episode blessed you, and I pray it did, share it with someone. All of us know someone who's dating, who's looking for love. Share it with somebody that you know is in this hunt with you looking for love. Hey, if you're on IG, follow me at coach underscore Yolanda B. Check out my website at yolandabethea.com. Go to the blog section and check out the free resources I have for you as it relates to dating. And remember, the love you deserve is never, ever, ever too much to ask for. I'll see you next time.